Hey y'all. Alright. First off, my apologies to anyone this video upsets. It's an honest take, so it might come across a little harsh, but it's how I feel and what I experienced. So, without further ado, here is a video essay on the rotting of rural America, or what was supposed to be a Maine road trip video. So, my nephew Ashton graduated high school back in Maine. Of course, Corbin and I took the trip. We figured it'd be the perfect excuse to see family, maybe shoot a classic road trip video. It was our first drive back to Dover Foxcroft in 10 years. Pure Americana. Hunter S. Thompson picks up Steinbeck in a rusted out Chevy while Bukowski drinks in the back seat type shit. So we got an American muscle car, biggest and fastest we could find, and set it on the highway at top speed. Joints preloaded, and a shit ton of snacks in my backpack. We drove 1,000 miles stoned to the bone, but found the country roads no longer took us home. I expected old diners and American flags, maybe a few loud and proud political signs. Instead, all the signs said for sale, and the flags said closed. It felt like driving through old Appalachia, haunted by industrial specters and snake churches, with roofs sagging like the tired people beneath them, ready to collapse. Tarps covering holes in what was once a working class stronghold. What I witnessed was the real-time rotting of rural America. Nothing to see but pine trees and poverty. Yet, despite that, average house prices are somehow skyrocketing. The American dream sold off to the highest bidder. Previous generations are abandoning any pretense of legacy, now making clear their true love for liquidation. I mean, why pass down a home when Zillow says it's worth $500,000? Fuck the kids. Florida's calling. This wasn't the simple road trip that I expected. It showed me something bigger. Bigger than just what Dover looks like a decade later. So let's talk about it. The rotting of rural America. Let's dive into what I saw on my trip and the takeaways from it. Alright, let's start on a high note. I got to see my nephew graduate. Surreal. He's 18 now. That's crazy.
Ashton Roland Thomas Ode.
Feels like just yesterday he was playing G.I. Joe in the backyard. I probably annoyed him with how many questions I was asking, but I don't get to see him that often. He's growing into a quiet, thoughtful young man, and like a lot of his generation, he's watching the world burn through a screen. Anime, Roblox, YouTube, all while trying to figure out what comes next. He's weighing his options cautiously, thinking about the trades, wary of college, scared to drive. And who can blame him? It's a rough road to be merging onto. The future's less, what do you want to be when you grow up, and more, what can you survive doing? It was nice to see how many family members were there, but I'm sure it was hard for him to see which ones weren't. The whole weekend had a strange emotional gravity. Graduation was held at Foxcroft Academy's new Jim Robinson Fieldhouse, a giant complex that didn't exist when I was there. The school grounds still feel familiar, being maintained by the same groundskeepers even. Tom and the crew seemed to be keeping up with an ever-expanding to-do list, but the energy's changed. The speeches were polished, but safe. Mostly about sports, gratitude, and accomplishments already behind them. When I graduated in 2013, the speeches were about chasing dreams, building new paths. In 2014, Sam Keen gave an amazing speech about not letting high school be the best years of your life. Now they're about being thankful for what you've got and making smart moves. I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm saying it's sad. There's fear in these kids. There's no spark. They're not lazy. They're just realistic. Too realistic. The school looks better than ever. New wings, fresh facilities, clearly a lot of money coming in. That should make me feel hopeful, but it doesn't. Just keeps confirming a pattern I see, and that's endless funds for sports and leftovers for the starving arts. It's no wonder these kids feel boxed in. They're not dreaming big because no one's showing them how. They don't speak out because they know how that ends. Doom scrolling through brutality compilations. They're just gonna sit around, hope the collapse is gentle, and the Wi-Fi stays connected. One thing that struck me was the rise of religion in these young kids. Spreading naturally. I guess it's gonna be their generation wasn't dragged to church against their will, or beaten in God's name. So it doesn't carry the same trauma. And in a world this powerless, I can't blame anybody for wanting to seek a higher power. But in the end, it's all part of the same story. A generation entering a broken world they didn't break, being asked to fix it with no tools, no training, and no funding for creative thinking. Maine is facing crisis on all fronts. The opioid epidemic has been rocking the region for decades, but it's only gotten worse. Most addicts now hooked on heroin, hoping to sleep away their worries. With funding being pulled, the state's had to shut down a lot of homeless shelters, and camps keep growing, often right behind the closed down shelter. Drugs, alcohol, and bitter cold are wearing folks down to nothing. Prisoners are being released in Penobscot because they can't find enough legal representatives. Why would a lawyer want to move to Maine and make state wages? And how is a run-of-the-mill Mainer going to go through law school? There's just no system in place to support further education of that magnitude. Many courthouses can't even operate currently from owing too much back pay to the landlord since the state had them privately built. With homeless on drugs in the woods, nowhere for them to go, no court to prosecute, no lawyer to protect, what does the state do? Much of Maine's income is from vacation spending, and Trump seems hell-bent on shortening tourist season. It's become too expensive for most Americans to vacation at all, and Canadians are refusing to come because of tariffs. It's all stacking up and feeling ready to blow. What will become of the Pine Tree State? That's my biggest question. But my other question is, what will become of the state of our union? I look around town and see the same thing I found around the rest of rural America. Locals living in shacks while mansions sit waiting for their yearly week-long occupation. Graduating classes hopping off the stage and right onto the highway, heading anywhere but here. It's only natural for most people to wonder if they could move back home, but the big takeaway from this trip is that I couldn't move back if I wanted to. There are no jobs, and yet houses cost $400,000, only just purchased in 2020 for $150,000. Gone are the days of passing down property. Why would boomers do that when they could sell generational inheritance for $500,000? And there's no plan for the future either. All the state government seems interested in discussing is cutting down emissions. And Maine doesn't need more green energy or to worry about their carbon footprint. They need fresh ideas and young voices. You can't make it as an artist here unless you want to paint a moose, lobster, or lighthouse. Maine is a self-important echo chamber that refuses to address actual issues. You can't install a street light without them calling you a Californian.
Alright. Well, this is home for the next couple of days. Some crazy 1970s looking trailer. I actually kind of love it. Let me give you a tour.
Very interesting.
Yes, when I die, you know I wanna go to heaven. That's when poor Lightning will have a chance to go. Gabriel's gonna be the next man to blow that trumpet.
So I'm out here blazing through the woods on the four-wheeler. This feels pretty good, actually. I haven't been on a four-wheeler in a long time. Feels a little like being a Mainer again. I like that. It's been really interesting here, actually. I thought I was going to be filming a road trip video, but I feel like it's turning into a little bit more of call it a journalism piece. I want to make it Maine specific because that's where I'm from, but I've seen this across the entire country, that this is just a running theme. It just feels like coming here to Maine now feels like when I drive through West Virginia. It's the erosion of time is hitting this place very hard. Some of these roofs here are crazy. They warp. It's honestly a little scary because you know people live in those houses. Gives me a lot to think about.
Long day, very long. I've been thinking about that theme I was talking about a lot, like the demise of the small town, rural America. I'm trying to figure out right now exactly how I'm going to title this and how I'm going to approach it. But it's definitely going to be about the death of rural America. It's crazy what I'm seeing out here. The houses, the people. It seems like there's been almost a switch between cities and rural America lately, and what's booming and what's falling apart. So, I'm going to do a little typing and think about exactly how I want to discuss this and address the topic.
We decided to drive out to Bar Harbor for a day. The coast is still as breathtaking as ever. Rocky cliffs, bent pines, ocean stretching out into a rock-dotted horizon. Many of the same businesses still stand, clinging like barnacles to the town's hull. On the surface, it's postcard perfect. The parking lots were full, which looked promising, viewing row after row of license plates, almost all out-of-staters. Massachusetts, New York, New Jersey, Maryland, Michigan, Florida. They just kept coming. Only 2 chickadee plates. No Canadians either. Not one. And I don't blame them. Why cross the border into a nation on fire? Politics don't just live in Washington. It lives in the prices, in the people, and who's missing from the crowd. As he walked through town, my phone buzzed with non-stop notifications. LA National Guard deployed. Civilians and journalists shot by militarized police. Trump threatening to send Marines and arrest governors. SS-style immigration tactics. It felt insane. To be stuck in a tourist trap when my screen flooded with tales of a country collapsing. It's hard to care about shopping for souvenirs when you're watching people get hunted down and shot in the head with rubber bullets, or trampled by horses. But I do feel that it's all connected. The sickness we see in the cities didn't start there. It started with forgotten places left to rot, with young people priced out and told to move on, with a political system that only listens to the loudest and richest voices. It started with culture wars that are becoming real ones. I had to leave my hometown because of politics, because of casual complicity, because of bigotry that leaks into the water like lead. And yet, even in the city, even far away, I'm not free of it. Their will demands enforcement everywhere. There's no place left to run. We stood on Cadillac Mountain, the highest point on the East Coast. Beautiful, peaceful, windy. And yet, even up there, you can feel the tension. It's become inescapable. Even this sleepy town feels like it's holding breath before a punch. You can't get away. Not in the woods, not in the ocean, not on top of a mountain. And that's when people get violent. When fight or flight kicks in and flight is no longer an option. When the youth are all gone, when the homes are all sold, and when the politics have choked every corner of the wide world. What's left? I sat by the ocean eating lobster, while civilians and reporters were being shot by corrupt cops and Gestapo immigration officers. They're arresting senators for simply speaking. All hell seems to have broken loose, and I'm sure everyone's feeling the frustration. That quiet scream of a question we're all trying to answer. What the hell am I gonna do?
I feel the falling rain.
We spent the last day seeing old friends and driving around town. We walked the old trails, we visited local restaurants. It was as close to the old life as I could possibly get. Driving the old streets, eating the old food, seeing the old faces. We asked them for updates on the era's past decade, getting all the drama. We caught up on how many of our old classmates are now drug addicts, homeless, or have joined the Nazi party. Sometimes all of the above. Stories of struggle were abundant and littered with tragedy. I heard too many end with suicide. It wasn't negativity across the board, though. Some friends were able to start businesses and raise families, though not many have reached homeownership yet. There's a clear lack of affordable housing, and rent has become ridiculous. Our friends are paying higher rent out here in the boonies than we do in Akron. It's more affordable to live in Cleveland than it is to live in Bangor, Maine. Almost all of our friends have plans to escape eventually. I'm not saying no Mainers are happy, but there is an obvious consensus. To be clear, I love Maine, which is why I find myself so upset to find it in disrepair. We did find some structures still standing though, things I thought for sure would be gone. Some remnants still remain. The rest only exists in my mind. My home is now just a place in time, but I still feel like I'm gonna find it. I feel a drive to get back. Driving through Dexter seems to be one of the worst examples. Patchy roofs bending like breaking waves, and the factories are all gone. Their slogan is the heart of Maine, and it's pretty clear there's some heart disease. You could say I'm just young and angry, but the alternative is what? Old and complacent, or worse, young and uncurious. Before heading back to Akron, we decided to stop at the town's dam bridges to get a few final shots. Yesterday, the town voted overwhelmingly to have the downtown dam blown out, with the Essex Street Dam going soon. Both eroding at a rapid pace, set to blow any time, because no one ever took care of them. They were hoping to repair them for energy production, but can't raise enough money to do that. These have been staples of my childhood. A lot of summer days were spent riding bikes over those bridges or fishing down the river. We'd explore the old factories, walk underneath the buildings. We'd sneak under the theater and spray paint our names. I know blowing those dams is the right decision. I just hope it happens for the rest of Maine's problems. When something is broken and ready to blow, just let it go. Face the issue head on and make the hard decision. And I'm actually glad to see the townspeople willing to let go of things they cherish, instead of drowning for the sake of tradition. So maybe there is hope. I spent the ride home thinking about all I had seen and heard on my first trip back to Maine in a decade. I drove away feeling ultimately that this is most likely just the reality of life. What I'm experiencing is the exiting of youth and the entrance of obsolescence. There will always be turmoil. Every empire falls. I'm also realizing I'm still so young, and there's so much time to turn things around. Maybe Maine will adapt, like everything else. Maybe it's all just a product of fear, and I need to move on, like I keep saying everyone else should. As old as I feel at 30, I could still live another 70 years. I could do this all again twice. I might live to see 3 centuries. Born in the 1900s, living in the 2000s, and dying in the 2100s. And I hope I do. I'm finally glad to observe it all. I hope things continue to surprise and excite me. I hope injustice continues to anger me. I hope I stay hungry for truth and clarity. I hope I stay hopeful. I hope 100 years is enough time to make this world my home, living comfortably in a state of mind. And I hope we don't get pulled over on the way there. Alright, Jesus Christ, it's hot as balls in here. That's all I got. Like, subscribe, do all that. I'm done. That took a long time. That took a lot. Dylan Alexander, signing out. Thanks, y'all. Peace!